If you're always lending a helping hand, don't know how to say no, and always find time to do things for people but never do anything for yourself, it's time to upgrade your belief system. You're still holding on to the belief that people must come first because that's the kind thing to do. But let me tell you the hard truth. Not making yourself a priority has done nothing but brought you unavoidable and unnecessary pain. And before you start thinking that what I'm saying is completely selfish, I want you to think about the last time that you neglected what you wanted to do so someone else could be happy. How did that make you feel? I'm gonna take a guess here and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing that you felt a sinking feeling in your stomach and you didn't have as much fun as you could have had because what you ended up doing wasn't what you truly wanted to do. But you justified it to yourself. You said, it's okay. As long as everyone around me is happy, then I'll be happy. How long before you realized that trying to be happy through other people has never worked and will never work? You feeling genuinely happy is the only thing that truly matters. And if you keep convincing yourself that you're okay with just making other people happy, then you're setting yourself up to live a very sad life. You'll even eventually start resenting people if you haven't started already, simply because you are too scared to choose yourself. When I was living in Japan a few years ago, some of my friends wanted to go to Universal Studios and I was excited to go because roller coasters, of course. But I was in a relationship with a person who didn't like a lot of my friends. And one particular person that they had a special dislike for was going on the trip. I knew there would be a lot of tension and possibly an argument if I went, so last minute I decided not to go, just to keep the peace. While the trip was happening, I was alone in my room and my friends posted a group picture. And you know what? This group picture of people having fun landed me in a huge argument. So the very thing that I was trying to avoid ends up happening anyways. And I remember thinking to myself, I should have just went. At least I'd be happy because I did exactly what I wanted. That wasn't the only situation that happened where I chose to give up my happiness to make someone else happy. But it was significant enough to make me understand that I can't live my life to please other people. We tend to compromise and sacrifice a lot, especially to fit in. But if we never get to choose the activities or plan the trips that we want to experience, then whose life are we living? My grandmother used to say to me, if you're sharing, give the other person the bigger portion. I get it. She was very kind. And I've lived by this principle for so long that it's only now that I realize that how flawed it actually is. Because if you're constantly doing more for other people than you're willing to do for yourself, then you're sending a terrible message to yourself. Through your actions of constantly putting yourself last, you're reinforcing the thought that you don't deserve to have the bigger piece of the pie, or you don't deserve to experience the things you want because other people must come first. You need to start putting your needs first instead of neglecting them. And if you start losing friends by doing this, well, good riddance. They weren't your true friends in the first place because they would embrace your courage to change instead of trying to stifle it. But because you're the friend who usually goes along with all their ideas, they start seeing you as a threat when you start choosing things you want to do instead of what they want to do. And to discourage your improvement because it's inconveniencing them, they start saying things like, oh, you've changed. Like it's a bad thing. Get rid of them. They're just occupying space for the true friends waiting to meet you who have the same vibe, interest, and morals like you. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been asked to help with something that you know you do not want to help with, but you still agree to do it? I wish I could say that I haven't, but I think we're all guilty of this one because we convince ourselves that we would feel guilty if we say no. And because we want to be seen as a good and helpful human, we tend to end up in situations we don't want to be in, can't stand being in, and constantly asking ourselves, why did I agree to do this? Let me tell you something about feeling guilty. You're the one who controls how you feel. And if you want to feel guilty, you will feel guilty. But keep this in mind. You should never feel guilty for saying no to something you have zero interest in, especially if it drains your energy. Now, I'm not saying don't be open to new things or try different things. What I'm saying is that if you've been in a situation a lot of times and you know it does not bring you any type of joy no matter what you do, just say no. Don't agree to help if you know you'll be miserable doing it. And don't feel guilty for choosing not to be miserable. It's not worth your time, your mental health, and your energy. Speaking of energy, if anything resonates with you so far, please share that energy with me by liking and subscribing. Thank you. So how can you shift from serving others to start serving yourself? Well, I had to learn this the hard way, which is how I learned most of everything in life. I went to Australia with some friends a few years ago, and the only thing I wanted to do was hug a koala. That's it. I didn't care about anything else. I told my friends that as long as I got the chance to do that, they had full permission to drag me everywhere. However, my friends had very different plans. They wanted to party and drink all night and in the day sleep. I mean, I get it. They were blowing off some heat from work, but I had one goal. If you've ever been on a group trip, then you know that everyone does what the majority wants. And I was the only person who wanted to hug a koala. So you know how that went. The trip ended, we left Australia, and I didn't get to do what I wanted to do. I was pissed. It's not like my one request was elaborate or that I was asking too much, but my friends just didn't care. They didn't have any interest in doing what I wanted to do. So I swore to never hang out with them ever again because I want my memories of another country to be stories I can pass on to my grandchildren one day. And saying, hey, I went to Australia, but I don't remember much because I was drunk and I kind of slept through all of it. Yeah, that's not the story I want to tell. And you know what? I kept my word to myself. I started hanging out with people who were interested in the same things that I was interested in and who wanted to do a lot more cool things that I never thought of doing. Luckily, I got to go back to Australia. And the second time around, I got to explore Steve Irwin's zoo, take a selfie with a kangaroo that we named Larry. And here's the best part. I got to hug a koala. I finally did it. I did it. If I didn't change who I chose to hang out with, then I wouldn't have been able to explore the things that I was interested in. If the people you're giving all your time, your help, and your energy to doesn't fulfill any of your interests, then start looking for new friends or go about it solo. I mean, I took a whole solo trip to Mexico once because no one wanted to go with me, but that's a story for another time. I know it's easy for me to tell you to prioritize yourself, but if your default mode is set to putting people's needs before yours because I'm being helpful, then it's going to take a while to unlearn what you've been taught. You know how you can always tell that something is wrong with your best friend, especially when they try to hide it because of how they sound or the mood they're in? That's because you've studied them so much that you can tell when something is off way before they open up to you. That's kind of what you have to do to yourself. You have to study, understand, and know yourself so much that once anything feels off, you'll instantly know. And the easiest way that I've found to do this is by journaling. Journaling has seriously helped me identify the moments I didn't prioritize myself, understand why I keep putting other people's needs before mine, and taught me that I've been self-sabotaging my entire life. Yeah. Prime example, the Universal Studio stories that I told earlier. If I had journaled my reasons for backing out of the trip, then I would understand that it's not me convincing myself that I didn't want to go. I wanted to go. I still do. I mean, getting the opportunity to experience something like that in Japan is something I would never pass up today. But I backed out of it because I chose to make someone else happy instead of myself. Journaling and self reflection taught me that. It has been the greatest gift I've ever given myself, and I am not exaggerating. I feel like one of my life's mission is to get everyone journaling in their own way. So I have a free guide for you. It will help you have deeper conversations with yourself, because when you fully understand why you do certain things and what drives you to make certain decisions, you'll know when you're not making yourself your top priority. The link is in the description, or you can scan the code if you're watching on your TV. Listen, I made it really simple and easy for you to start, so seriously, no excuses. You may disagree with this next thing because you may not fully understand this yet, but every regret and every bad thing that has happened to you happened because you did not prioritize yourself. You chose to go with someone else's opinion over yours, and it always backfires because they never knew and will never know what's best for you. The thing is, if you keep looking for other people's approval and keep second guessing yourself, then you don't fully trust yourself, which is why you should watch this video next, because it has a very important message that you need to hear. All right? See you there.